guys. I'm here today to read to you chapter 9 of Lily's story. Go ahead and follow along as I read and try to answer some questions on the Google Classroom if you want to make a prediction. I glanced up at Craig because he was suddenly different. Not afraid, just uncomfortable and tense. Craig said, "You called Maggie Rose a runt." "Runt? Explain yourself." Dad said, "It's just a nickname we call her sometimes. Brian does it too." "Don't hide behind your little brother," Dad said shortly. "It's okay, Daddy, I don't mind," Maggie Rose said quickly. "No, honey, it's not okay. Craig, your brother, is younger, and I don't expect him to behave in a mature fashion. But you're different. You're in high school now. You should be watching out for your sister, not putting her down. Understand?" Oh, excuse me, I have bad allergies this morning. Craig kicked the dirt. "Yeah." "Sorry," Dad responded. Craig straightened. "Yes, sorry." "All right then, Maggie Rose, thank you for helping me today with Samantha." "You're welcome, Dad." Dad left. "Craig, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get you in trouble," Maggie Rose told her brother. "I don't mind it that much. I really am a runt, just like Lily. That's why we belong together." I wagged at my girl for saying my name. "No, Dad's right," Craig answered. "Forget it. I won't call you Runt anymore." "Dad sometimes calls me Princess. You can call me that if you'd like." Maggie Rose sounded relieved. Craig shook his head. "Pass." "How about smartest kid in the family?" Maggie Rose suggested. Both Craig and my girl laughed, so I wagged again. "You're the smartest girl in the family, though," Craig agreed. "You should have seen what happened with Samantha. Craig, she played catch with Lily and me." "Samantha?" Craig replied. "The squirrel with the hurt leg. Dad took her to the new territory." "Uh-huh," Craig said slowly. "Catch with a squirrel." "Really, I'm not lying." "So maybe that's your new nickname, Squirrel Girl," Craig observed. Maggie Rose shook her head. "You don't believe me." Craig shrugged. "I believe you think you played catch with a squirrel named Samantha. And wait, what did you mean about Lily? You said you belonged together?" Maggie Rose sighed. "I asked Dad if I could keep her to be my dog." Craig lifted his eyebrows. "Wow, what did he say?" "He didn't say no," my girl replied carefully. "So he said to ask Mom, right? I bet I know what her answer was. You probably don't remember, but I wanted a Labrador puppy last Christmas, but Mom said she doesn't support giving puppies as gifts because too often they wind up being neglected." Craig shook his head. "She said it would send the wrong message. She didn't say who would get the message, just that it was the wrong one." "We would never neglect a dog," Maggie Rose declared hotly. "I know. I guess Mom's worried about what other people will think. All those volunteers at the shelter, she just feels like she needs to set an example." "Well, maybe it will be different with Lily," my girl said hopefully. Craig smiled. "That would be okay by me," he said. He put his hand down, and I sniffed it, and smelling dirt and sweat and something sweet. No peanut butter, though. And then I squatted. Treat. Dad came back out of the house, and Maggie Rose and I rode in the truck to the shelter. I was glad to get to my mother, to snuggle into her warm fur and take a good lap of milk, a good long nap after all that excitement. The next day, Maggie Rose came back, of course, because she's my girl. We went out into the yard to play. "Bring it here." What a great game. "Bring it here, Lily," Maggie Rose kept saying. I ran away from her and pretended that ball had slipped out of my jaws. And when she took a step towards me, I snatched it up again and pranced away so that she'd have to chase me some more. But then Maggie Rose did something strange. She stopped running after me and instead stood still with her hand out. "Bring it here." On purpose, I let the ball go. It rolled a little bit away from me. I glanced at Maggie Rose slyly, thinking she wouldn't be able to resist. And as soon as she made her move, I would pounce on that ball and be off. But Maggie Rose just stood there. "Bring it here," she repeated. Why didn't she come get the ball and throw it again? I bowed down, the toy between my forelegs, waiting, but she didn't move. When we had been playing with the squirrel, "Bring it here" meant give the wretched tasting ball to Maggie Rose so she could pitch it over to Sammy's head. But there was no squirrel here, and this ball was bouncy, and it didn't taste awful on my tongue. So she still held out her hand. So did I bring it here mean that I should take Maggie Rose the ball? Did that make any sense at all? I danced with the ball, twisting, losing it out of my mouth, jumping on it, wagging, playing, and still Maggie Rose stood with her hand out. "Bring it here," she insisted. I moved closer, dropping the ball and batting at it, and it rolled right up to her feet. "Good dog, Lily." When my girl bent over to pick up the ball, I tensed, ready to run. There was no time to wag because she was tossing the ball and it was bouncing. I jumped on it triumphantly. "Bring it here," Maggie Rose called as I ran around the yard with it. It didn't seem right, but if this was how she wanted to do it, I was not going to fight it. We played and played with the bouncy ball, and I brought the ball to Maggie Rose's feet every time. After a while, I could see Maggie Rose was getting a little tired of throwing the ball. I could have kept at it until dark, but Maggie Rose seemed to feel differently. She led me back into the building. Just inside the door was a bowl of water, and I eagerly lapped some up while Maggie Rose stood by. People are funny. They never drink out of bowls on the floor, even though there's always one somewhere with some water in it. Instead, they prefer to drink out of much smaller bowls that they hold in their hands. Mom and Dad were talking down the hall. I felt Maggie Rose tense a little bit as she listened. "We have the family coming in today who are interested in adopting Lily. They're really looking forward to meeting her." That was Mom talking. Her voice settled differently on my ears than my girl's, lower with softer edges. "How does Maggie Rose feel about that?" Dad asked. His voice caused a rumble in my ears like the sound Oscar made sometimes. Mom sighed. "Honestly, I didn't even tell her. I think it would be better to wait until we have a final answer on the family and then explain to her that as much as we all love Lily, we can't possibly keep her. We're so busy right now. Plus, I can hardly, as the president of this rescue, have a foster failure in my own family, especially with such an adoptable puppy. It makes me look like a hypocrite." "It's your decision," Dad replied. "You have to do what's right for the rescue." "That's an interesting response, James. So you disagree. You think we should keep Lily." Maggie Rose drew in a sharp breath. I looked up at her in surprise. "No, I meant that it's your decision," Dad replied. It'll break Maggie Rose's heart at first, but she's young and eventually she'll forget all about that dog." "So I get to be the bad guy here?" Mom asked. "That's not what I said," Dad protested. "What I'm saying is that I want to support you." There didn't seem to be any problem that I could see, just people talking and the way they like to. I went back to getting a good, long drink. "The rescue is running far better, but you still feel new to the job," Dad went on. "If you think adopting one of your own puppies would be a problem, I believe you. But I also get more difficult. It will also I also get how difficult it will be for Maggie Rose. If you want me to tell her it's our decision, I will." There was a long silence. "No," Mom said. "I should be the one who tells her, but I really appreciate that you would do that." Maggie Rose made a tiny sound. I stopped drinking and stared up at her. She seemed so tense, so sad. I felt sure there was something going on, but I didn't understand what. Was she sad that we were not playing with that bouncy ball anymore? Was I being a bad dog? I put my paw on her leg and stared up at her face. "They're coming for you today, Lily," she whispered. "I can't let that happen. A good puppy would make her family feel happy. But right now, it did not seem that I could do it." Maggie Rose did not even kneel down to cuddle me. She just let her head droop and stared at the floor. "I'll tell you what," Dad said. "We had such a good time together yesterday, releasing that squirrel back into the wild. I'll take Maggie Rose with me this afternoon. We'll ride up to the mountains, and it will keep her mind off Lily. The new people can come meet her, and if everything is successful, we can explain to Maggie Rose that there's another family who loves Lily just as much as she does." "That's not true," Maggie Rose whispered to me. "Nobody loves you as much as I do, Lily. Nobody." "That's a really good idea," Mom agreed. "If everything looks good, I'll let them take Lily home with them today on a trial basis. When you and Maggie Rose get back, it will already be settled." Not long afterwards, I heard Dad coming down the hall towards us. He reached down and held out his hands to me, and I sniffed them but stayed with Maggie Rose. "She's my girl." "Hey, Maggie Rose," Dad said. "How would you like to ride with me to do some work? I have to go survey a mountain goat herd up above Echo Lake." "What's survey mean?" Maggie Rose asked. "I just need to check on the population of mountain goats and see how many there are. Does that sound like fun?" Maggie Rose swept me into her lap and held me tightly. "Can Lily come?" Dad chuckled. "Well, no, that's not a good idea." Maggie Rose looked up at him stubbornly. "Why not?" "Let's just make it be me and you, okay?" Dad replied. "I think Lily should stay here at the rescue. Why don't you put the puppy back in her kennel and head on out to the truck? I'll be joining you out there in just a minute." Dad walked out, leaving us by ourselves. "Come with me," Maggie Rose whispered in my ear, "but don't make any noise, okay?" I do not know what we were doing, but I was happy to be carried up by my girl. She stopped and opened the door to a very tiny room that had no space for anything except for shelves and a thing stacked on the floor. A wave of new odors greeted me. I wagged, eager to explore everything that I could smell, but my girl did not set me down. Instead, she reached in and pulled out a small bag and set it on the floor. With a quick zipping sound, she opened it. She threw the top flap back, and I stared curiously into what smelled like a cat bed. "All right, Lily," my girl whispered. "I know you're not going to understand any of this, but I need you to get into this carrier and be really, really quiet." I understand something was being asked of me and wondered if maybe we were about to play Bring It Here with that bouncy ball again. Maggie Rose leaned over and dropped me gently into the bag. I was delighted at all the animal smells. It was a cat bed. I had my nose in the soft padding when there was a sudden movement and the flap came down over my head. There was a zipping noise, and I realized I was now inside the cat bed. All right, what do you think she's going to do now that she has hidden Lily into this cat bed? Where do you think she's going to take her, and what do you think is her next plan of action? Go ahead and comment below.